Good day, everyone. This is your host, Paul Lawrence Van, and I hope that you're doing great today. And one of the things I want to say is this is going to be a great day. We have a wonderful guest coming on, and as things sometimes happen, there could be some technical issues involved. It's happened before last month, and it could be happening right now, but we're proceeding on and give Joy Green an opportunity to check into the virtual studio, and we can go from there. But I'm going to read her bio. And then we do have some people who are in the green room that we can bring them on and just ask them a few questions as pertains to what they were going to ask her. But today on Wealth Academy Podcast, we have the extraordinary privilege of welcoming Joy Green, a global mediation guide, best-selling author, and TEDx speaker based in sunny California. We love California. Joy has dedicated her life to helping people worldwide find inner peace, resilience, and a deeper connection with themselves. Through her transformative meditation programs, her best-selling books that have touched thousands, and her inspiring TEDx Talks. Now, that's what I want to hear. Joy is on a mission to elevate human consciousness and well-being, whether she's guiding a room full of executives or leading a retreat on the shores of Aruba, one of my favorite countries. Joy empowers people to harness the power of stillness to unlock their greatest potential. And so we are awaiting the entry into the studio of Joy Green, but since she is not here right now, I'm going to bring on a great friend, expert by the name of Rovan Dion. Rovan, how are you doing?
Well, hello, my friend.
Yes, another beautiful day.
It is.
Yes. And one of the things, of course, you know Joy Green, just like I do. And we know that it may have been a technical issue with her. And if that's the case, then we're still going to give her some time. As my professor would always say, give me 15 minutes. If I'm not there, leave.
Yes.
So I want to just share with you, brother Rovan, that this would be episode 296. My God. Episode 296, and I'm still pressing forward towards that mark, and I'm getting close to 300, and I'm looking forward to that as well. So, Rovan, let's talk a little bit about you and what you've been up to while we await for Joy to make her entrance. And I have messaged her and texted her, and I haven't heard from her. So, California, it could be an earthquake. You just never know.
You really never know.
You never know. So, Rovan, let's talk about it just a bit. And of course, you're still based in New York.
Yes.
Yes, New York is one of my favorite places. I have half of my family tree there. Now, I know one thing about you, Rovan, is that you have a very, very diverse background. You're a best-selling author. And let's talk about that theater experience that you have. See, a lot of people don't know about that, and I want to help them to understand that as well. Now, I want everyone to understand I'm going to be bringing Rovan Dion on for his own separate interview, but while we're waiting for Joy Green, we're going to press forward. So let's talk a little bit about what that was like working with that theater group you were with.
Ooh. Yeah, this is one of the things that's a lot of people don't realize or know about. One of my philosophy is that I always believe that you should never be this one thing.
Sure.
Like no one should ever tell you that you should be this one thing. You have so many different parts of yourself that needs to be alive, that needs to be expressed. And I invite everyone to explore those other parts of you. So one of the things that's with me, like 3 lifetimes ago, is that when I first came to New York, I actually came to New York to be a professional dancer and choreographer. And so getting into the transformational work I was in, wow, this is a long time ago. We're talking 1985 that I came to New York with a dream. And for some reason or another, it's part of my story that I do tell every once in a while, is that I went to this section at Coliseum Bookstore up on 59th Street in Columbus Circle in Manhattan, and I
Uh-huh.
came across a self-help book, and I ran into one of Tony Robbins' book,
Oh,
and
wow.
things have never ever been the same. And so that's how I actually got into the transformational realm. And within less than 2 years, not only had I graduated from the School of Alvin Ailey School of Dance, but
Yeah.
I also began to choreograph for the Alvin Ailey Company
Oh,
out of the transformational work. And so that's one of the things that I've done that I'm really, really proud of.
yeah, that is something. Now, I know that there are a lot of people who are listening right now, and they perhaps don't understand the uh, how competitive it is to be with the Allen Alley Group.
Yeah, yeah. The Alvin Ailey Group is one of the most toured companies in the world, and the competition is very, very stiff. Just to get into the school is really, you have to be really great. And even early on, Paul, I have to tell you, one of my philosophies, and I do like to share this wherever I go,
Sure.
whatever you're going to do, always study with the best.
Yes, I totally
Always
agree.
study, yeah, always study with the best.
Yes, yes, and in other words, you had the gifts, you had the talent, and you also knew what you wanted to do. And I
That's
think that's
right.
another important point of it. But when we talk about the fact that you actually were a part of that company, tell us what that was like, because I know I won't be going in there.
Listen, when I tell you, it was really an eye opener. And if you've ever had the opportunity to work with a living legend,
Yes.
to work with someone that just inspires the world of dance, and not only that, but to be surrounded with other great choreographers. We had choreographers from Broadway theaters. We had uh, choreographers coming in from Europe, and some of the best was all drawn to this institution, which Alvin really, really, really believed in. It wasn't just bringing the dance to the people with just him. It was really about collaborating with other great choreographers and then using the dancers to actually do that work. And that's why they became some of the most versatile dancers in the world, because you had all of these different styles. But what I really loved about it was the entire environment where people just like myself, and that's what I will say, that no matter what you're doing, whether it's going to be dance or writing a next bestseller or doing a podcast, you want to surround yourself in a community that elevates you. And
Yeah.
I tell you, I have never been in a room that had so many young, great minds. And it just floored me. And so every day was just a gift just to be part of that.
Yes. And speaking of every day, when you look at it takes a lot of practice, a lot of training. How many hours would be included in that? Because I played football and I ran track, and it takes hours to discipline, to
Yes.
understand. How many hours did one have to practice each day to be a part of that great organization?
What I tell you, I was start I was start. I mean, listen, when you want to be part of the best, you got to act like part of the best. And you won't get that by not being in action. So I would really go in at like 8 o'clock in the morning.
Uh-huh.
Uh they were down on, down on Broadway. I would start there, and sometimes I would dance pretty much all day, because once I was finished with different disciplines, because you had to be really great at two other disciplines. You had to be really had to master ballet, and you really had to
Mhm.
master the Horton technique. But they also had Dunham, and they had jazz, they had Graham, they had all of these
Uh-huh.
different things. And so I would go sometimes 8 o'clock in the morning to like 11, 12 o'clock at night. It just depends on how the day was going and which choreographers I was going to be working with. But I tell you, I was able to translate all of those working early disciplines into the things that I do now, which is why I get a chance to do so many different things that people say, well, where do you find the time? And it teaches you how to be in action, and it really instills discipline. And, so whether I'm writing my next bestseller or the things that I'm up to these days, I apply those early trainings of just being disciplined and being excited about something.
So that training goes outside with you being a speaker, being an author, and even more.
Yeah.
Because you also are a teacher.
That's right.
Yeah.
And one of the things I didn't share, last year I was honored by the United Federation of Teachers as an educator last year. And then this year, which I have not even shared yet, I was honored again by the superintendent of the district. They call it the Championship Award.
Sure.
And that's someone who's really dedicated to education and making a real difference. And your audience is actually the first one I'm actually sharing that with.
Oh, fantastic. You got it here first, everyone. And then there's more.
That's a lot more. Indeed. A lot more.
Yes, that is fantastic. And now, how long have you been in that particular space?
Wow, that's been over 20 years.
Okay.
And some people may find this, well, wow, how does that all connect? Life is really funny. And when I begin to look at, my history and what I've gone through, I've always been a teacher. Even young, I started in the arts really, really early. I started dancing and performing really early. And then, I actually had a chance to be in the arts. Right. And I was teaching, even as a teenager, I was teaching summer program, when I would take other young kids and teach them things and this, that, and the other. And even when I was in the dance world, I was teaching classes. I was teaching master classes, and Alvin invited me personally to go down to Kansas City, and he had like a whole children's things he wanted to do that. And he asked me to go down. I said, Alvin, you want me to go down and teach a bunch of kids? And it's like, yeah, this is like, we have to bring the dance to the people, regardless of at what age. And so, so of course, you can't say no to Alvin. So, I went down and thoroughly enjoyed myself, getting my teaching chops again underway. And I never thought anything about it. And then, I eventually moved more away from dance and started going back into the business world and started going and working on Wall Street for many years as an engineer on Wall Street. And then Paul, I actually would have stayed there and had it not been for 9/11.
Right.
And so we actually had a lot of people, the whole department for one of the companies that I was working with had just moved to the World Trade Center, and I couldn't go back. I was like, it was just too much. It was just too much. And I would actually ride the train in to the World Trade Center, stop every single morning to go to work and work, walk by the New York Stock Exchange, etc. So when 9/11 came, I just said, I can't do this anymore. What am I going to do? I went back to school, got another degree in education, and became an educator.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I understand about the World Trade Center because, of course, the Pentagon was hit here, and that's where I was working.
Oh,
and we had actually, our office was moved from the inside of the Pentagon a mile away while we went through. They were actually rehabbing the Pentagon itself.
Yeah.
And we were just waiting on that. Had it not been for that, I wouldn't even be here.
Yeah. Same. Yeah. No, history has a way of directing things in another direction. But as far as education, like I said, you can't stop to be this one thing. I had the fortunate one of my last book, I got into real estate actually totally by accident.
Right.
And teaching real estate now. I'm an educator of real estate. And then we just had our last cohort. I believe I think we're close to like 100% pass rate. On that. I teach that with a very good friend, the principal of the school as well. And then what people don't know about that is like, wow, again, you don't have to be this one thing. When I was going through real estate, the very first thing I did was write another bestseller, which was teaching people how to actually zero to hero, investment for people who are over 40 years of age. And
Sure.
as soon as I was done with that, I took all that knowledge. And because a lot of these conversations in real estate was not in our communities. And so, of
Uh-huh.
course, you know, like we do as leaders, we like to make a difference and we like to make an impact. And so
Sure.
I wrote the book in order. And I tell you, I actually have a captured audience now. It's like you
Uh-huh.
can create anything because, and the
Sure.
reason I say that is because, you know, my real estate students, it's like you an author too. Oh my God,
Yeah.
where's the book? So it's kind of like, it just can't get any better than that.
So, with that being real estate and given the current market that we're in, and we know that home building, especially outside of, say, New York, you know, with the
Yeah.
high rises, we have
Mhm.
residential properties in the suburbs and in small towns. And a lot of the labor is gone now because a lot of the immigrants were actually the builders and they
Yeah,
had building companies.
that's right.
And so, how is it going now in terms of real estate, in terms of the people that you work with, and of course, your book, that they're able to still go out and invest in real estate? They're investing in all kinds, apartment,
Yeah.
condos,
Yeah,
houses.
exactly. I mean,
Yeah,
in real estate runs the whole gamut, whether it can be
yeah.
commercial real estate, you know, big developers. There's a lot, I would tell there's a lot of construction going on here in New York.
Oh, great.
Yes, the climate has definitely decreased the actual amount of the pool as far as people being able to work here.
Sure.
But it is still going. I go by construction sites, look, and you know they still have a lot of people who are maybe first generation from another country.
Uh-huh.
Some people who are born here, who
Sure.
has the skills, and they're still making it happen. So I don't see a slowdown at all.
Sure.
The pool got smaller,
Right.
unfortunately, but it's still full steam ahead.
Okay. Even with the interest rates being what they are, a little bit higher
Yeah,
than they were.
yeah. People are still because I mean, and I guess it depends on what market you're in. The
Absolutely.
thing is that people, a lot of people can't afford to live
Hmm.
in places like New York anymore, and so they're
Exactly.
beginning to find those outer areas. Like if it's down in
Suffer.
DC, they're gonna
Yeah.
go to Silver Spring, Maryland,
Spring. Yeah.
or you know, somewhere around there where the real estate
Uh,
is cheap, and then and as always, they'll migrate there and then the real estate will start going right back up again.
Absolutely. Because I do know in Washington, D.C., and I'm 5 miles from that, it's a very dynamic real estate
Yeah,
market.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
what it's also impacted is the fact that a lot of federal employees were let go.
Oh,
They
that's
were
yeah.
laid off. However, people just move right in and they purchase
Hmm.
those properties.
Yeah,
And of course,
absolutely.
Amazon, they have the headquarters too here, and that started a totally different real estate market
Hmm.
because they were
Yeah,
buying out people who homes are paid for and they can get top dollar for them.
that's right. That's
And
right.
so now they're filling up the Amazon 2 headquarters right in Crystal City, where I used to work at. It's
Wow.
adjacent to the Pentagon.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is the ebb and flow of you know what we're dealing with right now. And again, that's the beautiful thing. You know, life is in the future is very unpredictable, and in that particular situation, you know, you want to make sure that you know you're prepared. So this will tell you that you know always have something else that you're really passionate about that you really love to do. And the best time to do that is when you have a full-time job. You have a full-time job. To me, that's the best time to
That
take chances.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I looked at myself and I said, okay, so what have I done? I guess professionally since I left college, I ended up, of course, serving over 22 years in the Air Force,
Mm,
and I did financial work and I did legislative work. And then
right.
after I got out, I knew I was going to become a speaker because it was just in my brain and I couldn't get it out. And so I
Yeah.
started speaking professionally. And then I had a speaker coach, Dottie Walters, late Dottie Walters, and she wrote the book Speak and Grow Rich. And
Yes.
she had a marketing symposium in Burbank, California. So I flew out to Burbank and I was sitting beside the Incredible Hulk.
Nah, ha,
Tell her
ha, ha.
who plays that role. Lou
Lou
Ferrigno.
Ferrigno.
That's
Yeah.
the website. Lou, he's about as tall as Tony, of course.
Woo.
Tall man.
Wow, wow,
And,
wow, wow, wow.
so I left there and I said, hey, I'm going to write my first book. I didn't know how I was going to write it because I wasn't trained to
Yeah.
write a book. And so I just wrote a book. I wrote 2 books in 30 days.
That's amazing.
And I just followed kind of a book guide, and I had a couple of comparable books that I looked at, and I said, okay, I can do this. And I wrote 2 books in 30 days. So
Yeah.
that went from being a speaker to an author. And then I said, okay, so I really enjoyed diversity. So I took
Mm,
a Society of Human Resource Management diversity trainer program, and I was speaking all over the United States and Canada as well.
nice.
It took me
Nice.
everywhere. And I learned
Yeah.
this through mobile oil. I was I left the Air Force after 8 years, and they gave all the professionals, new people that they had hired, put us in this course, and I really enjoyed it because I learned so much more about myself.
Yeah.
Diversity is about learning about yourself and different things such as that. And being an instructor or trainer, I had to make sure that I was not biased in my delivery of the presentation. And I spent a lot of time in Austin, Texas,
Mm,
Toronto, Canada,
yeah.
here in Washington, D.C. area, and wherever people wanted me to deliver the programs. And so it worked out really great. And so then I was a coach. Then I started developing courses, digital courses.
There you go.
And so it kept growing, just like with yourself. You
There you
have to,
go.
yeah, you have to be able to do more than one thing. And then, of course, I did an online radio show for about 8 years,
Amazing.
and I was interviewing people like Chris Gardner from The Pursuit of Happiness.
Yeah, met him
Two,
actually. Yes.
yes, 2 Chains. And when he was
Hmm.
first starting out, and that was one of the most brilliant young men I've ever interviewed. And
Amazing.
then I received a call from Dr. King's daughter,
Mhm.
Miss Coretta Scott King's daughter, and interviewed her with her mom's book. And so it just went on and on, and just something I never thought I'd ever do. And now people ask me, I've been retired from the Air Force now 23 years, longer than I've served.
Mm.
And people say, well, what are you doing? I said, well, by speaking, writing books, and training, it keeps me young.
It keeps me young.
It keeps me young, yeah. Because I tried to retire completely, and it almost killed me. My health and everything was going downhill.
Yes, yes. I mean, you brought up something very interesting, and I think it'd be good for the audience to know. It's kind of like I know that like we always had questions like how are people doing these things? How is one getting able to move? What motivates them? Like, how does all this kind of work? And you brought up something really, really important that I've always believed in, and it's that when you begin to do some things, you actually got yourself a coach.
Yes.
And I will say that to this very day, my life, I've got to be real. Can I be just really honest?
Be really honest.
I try to do the cheapy way,
Yeah, we
like
all do.
the YouTube way. Like I'm gonna
Oh,
find
yeah.
out because I consider myself very resourceful,
Yes.
and so I really try to do it on the cheap. So I was
Sure.
like, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna do YouTube and I'm gonna find this and I gotta do that. But trying to keep up and organize, it's like it would only give you so much
Right.
information, and then it was like Swiss cheese,
Absolutely.
right? And
Yeah.
so I just found out it's like, you know what? You gotta, when I learned this from Lisa Nichols,
Uh-huh.
who
In fact, with Lisa Nichols on Wednesday, I'm going to be in a session with her.
yeah,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
It's always great being with Lisa.
Oh, for
And
sure.
yeah, and Lisa said, you gotta pay to play. And I
Sure.
was like, huh? What do you mean I gotta pay to play?
Right.
But I tell you, you're not gonna get the real juice. You're not
Mhm.
gonna get the real system. You're not gonna really get what you need to get in order to move forward unless you hire yourself a coach and
Yeah.
that you actually pay the money in order to
Sure.
get the information. That information does not come for free,
Yeah.
right? And sometimes, in some cases, doesn't even come for cheap. You just gotta listen. It's amazing though, because it's kind of like it's just all about mindset. And you know that I'm a big mindset person
Absolutely.
as well. And you think about it, and this is what kind of did it for me. I was like, you imagine how much people actually pays to spend money for college,
Right.
like sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then some people make it work, some people don't.
Right. That's
But I
correct.
tell you, the coaches that I've invested in was not nearly as much as my college education, but
Sure.
it's reaped me more benefits
Right.
than, you
And
know what I'm saying?
that's what I was going to say. You reap what you sow. And in essence, what you're saying is you have to invest in yourself if you want to advance. And
That's right.
it comes with a price, but that price is more than compensated for by virtue of the fact that you continue to elevate. Because as an individual and entrepreneur, you're being transformed all along your journey. Right now, I'm in two writing communities, book writing communities.
Hmm.
I have a speaker coach right now that I'm going through a program. I'm doing a speaker showcase on the 18th in Silver Spring, Maryland.
Nice.
And I'm going to be with 9 other people. And I'm going to be delivering it's a keynote. But that 6-minute keynote that I'm going to provide, I can expand it out to 15 minutes,
Hmm.
20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour. I just have to add different layers to it. And that's what I'm being taught with just an amazing, amazing speaker coach. And I would not be able to do this without the coach. And I
Yeah.
had to invest, but I can already tell you the investment is already paid for itself.
Oh, absolutely. I absolutely, totally agree.
Mhm.
When I'm working with clients, I was working with someone just recently, and I always try to get the very best of myself
Yeah,
as a coach, to people. And I'm actually in a very rigorous program that I'm
sure. Uh-huh.
just finishing up by Tony Robbins and Chloe Madonna's. I'm just getting ready to submit everything to be
So
certified
you
by those
you
two
walk
individuals.
you walk through the fire, right?
Oh, yes,
Yeah, I remember
I'm an
seeing
official firewalker. That's
Firewalker.
right.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw you had it on the social, and I saw that it
Yeah.
said, let's see, I just had a foot operation 2 years ago. No.
Nope, not happening. Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
That's wonderful.
yeah, it's that level of coaching,
Yes.
that I always want to try to give the best to my, we're the same spirit, we're
Oh,
kindred spirits. We always want to see
absolutely.
how we can make the best version of ourselves, so we
Yeah.
can just give it all away. And so, I really want to put myself through this program with Tony Robbins and Chloe Madonna's, so that I can really do some strategic intervention work. I mean, it's one thing to be a coach, and there's just so
Sure.
many coaches out there,
Absolutely.
and that to the point where life coaching gets a bad name sometimes.
Sure.
Um, and I didn't want to be that coach.
Hmm.
Um, but I have already under my belt, I have like over a decade of being a coach and head coach for transformational organizations.
Sure.
And then I just wanted to elevate it so I could just do more. And that's how I actually went and enrolled into the Tony Robbins, Chloe Madonna's coaching program, uh, which is a very strenuous program. And what I really loved about it is that you have to make sure that you are the real deal, that you practice what you preach, that you actually implement the strategies. And I tell you, the breakthroughs that I've been able to actually have for the clients that I actually serve has been remarkable. But
Uh-huh.
I always tell people, and that's because they're investing into a coach, right?
Uh-huh.
Um, you have someone who's going to be an accountability buddy to you. You get a chance to reach your goals. And what was really missing in my Pacific training, because you always got to be honest with you as far as your own limitation. What was really limiting for myself is that I had no problem getting people results, as a coach, because that's just
Sure.
kind of like my superpower. But when
Exactly.
it came to really digging in and having people to get over fears and overwhelm and all of these things,
Uh-huh.
that blockages that hold people back, you
Sure.
know it was kind of like hit or miss. And with this
Exactly.
particular program, it actually has me to be more effective as a coach, to do the change work, to do lasting change, to do change inside of relationships, to remove behaviors, feelings, emotions, and patterns that's been stopping people. And for me, it's a real game changer. So I'm really excited about that, and what's up next for myself.
Oh, that's great. One of the things that I look at is the fact that when it comes to these different types of spaces, and these different types of spaces is being able to do more than one thing. What do you say to young people who want it yesterday? They don't want to invest in themselves, and they're just not willing to wait to for things and go for it, and they bump into a wall, and they don't understand why. But it's experience that is the greatest teacher. And what do you say to the younger people who are out there? They're trying to make it, but they just need this investment in themselves.
Yes, I mean, I actually have the privilege to actually have these conversations,
Uh-huh.
being that I'm a high school teacher.
Exactly.
But I
Exactly.
would I would tell you something, we like to say sometimes how different the youths are today than they were yesterday. But
Mhm.
if I was to be really honest with myself, when I was that age, I was kind of the same way. I kind of like
Uh-huh.
wanted things because of the eagerness and the wantingness of it all. I
Yeah,
wanted it yesterday. And I think that's what we call a burning desire to have something. And
exactly.
then it takes people like us to say, hey, I love you being eager. I know that you really want this yesterday. And this is how you get it. And it doesn't happen overnight. And it needs someone to be in their lives to actually have that authentic conversation with them so that they can put some type of realism upon the
Uh-huh.
situation.
Exactly.
So that's where we are.
Yeah, and I think that's very interesting because I can remember the time when I was kind of where some of the young people are now, and I did everything from I mowed people lawn for $2. My dad would take me to the house, $2, because gas is only maybe like 30 cents a gallon, right? And then
We're telling our age. We're telling our age.
yeah, I knew if I said this, people would be like, "Say what?" And then I would prime tobacco. I'd go into the tobacco field 5 in the morning to about noon. Um, I'd get paid maybe $30, which was a lot of money back then.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
taxes, right?
Yeah.
And I'd
Yeah.
go out there and work. And then I didn't have any money to go to college. And I'm sharing this story because I know some people are going through this now.
Yeah.
And I didn't have any money. So people said, "Well, how did you pay for college?" I said, "I got a job. I'm one
Hmm.
of 10 kids. My parents couldn't afford to send me to college, give me tuition money for college. So I got a job. I worked for 4 years for UPS.
There you
I was
go.
I was half my body size then."
That makes two of us.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And so I just looked at it and I said, well, whatever it takes, because I had worked in a factory in my after my freshman year, I was going on my sophomore year, and I worked in a factory, and I did not like it. It was a yarn
Mm.
factory about
Oh, wow.
a mile from my house,
Yeah.
and I get out there, and one of the employees, he said to me, he said, "Well, we don't like you college boys coming here taking our jobs." And I'm like, "Well,
Mm.
I'm not taking a job because I'm doing the work." Right?
There you go.
And so he threatened to cut my throat. And I
Wow.
said, "All right." I said, I'll talk to you tomorrow." So I went and talked to my dad, and I got my uncle, and they
Uh,
went up to the plant, and they said, "Well, what's this about cutting my nephew's throat?" And after that, the guy never spoke to me again, ever.
yeah, I don't think I would have spoken to you again either, Paul.
So, I've had some experiences where it's like I didn't do anything wrong. I
Yeah.
was simply working, and the work was hard.
Yeah.
And I said,
Yeah.
why would this guy be threatening me? And I'm doing the actual work.
Yeah. He's actually threatening you for one reason. He's feel threatened.
He feels threatened. And so
Yes.
2 weeks after that, I stopped the work. I got my check. I stopped the work, and I was at home, my parents' house, and I get this phone call, and they said, "Hey, there's somebody who wants to speak to you." So I got on the phone, and the manager from UPS called me and said, "Hey, we want you. We're going to hire you. You just get here tomorrow, and you have the job." Now, of course, I didn't have a car. And of
Mm.
course, my dad only had one. So I went to my neighbor, and her husband had passed away. They were more elderly, so she didn't drive. So she let me use her car until I could afford to get one myself. And that's kind of how, and the UPS facility was 50 miles away. So I'm commuting 100 miles each day.
Yeah.
But it's like you said, that burning desire is what kept me going. And it ended up me going through college for 4 years. And then I picked up some ROTC money in my junior year. And I had I received this call, and they said, "Hey, are you interested in Air Force ROTC?" One of my classmates, a brother, he was in it. And I said, well, that would be interesting. But the way I was thinking about it, Rovan, was this. Well, if I go to this basic training, I'll make the same amount of money. And it was in Dover, Delaware, so it was near the beach. And so I went up, I took a Greyhound bus up there. I'd never flown on a plane before. And I went through 6 weeks of basic training, survival training, marksmanship. And I flew in my first flight 3 weeks into that 6-week encampment, and they put us on a C5. And that C5 aircraft was the largest aircraft. It's the length of a football field.
Wow.
And they flew us over Bermuda. And after that, about 2 weeks after that, they flew us to Columbus, Mississippi. And they put us in an instructor plane with an instructor pilot with a jet aircraft, rather. And they allowed us to fly the jet for a little while at 10,000 feet. And after that, Rovan, I was hooked. I was like, I like this. Now, I didn't become a pilot because I wore glasses, but the experience itself and the mission itself, it's still inside of me.
Yeah, I mean, it's really great. I'm just so happy you're sharing your story, with the audience, because it just goes to show you that if you really do have a burning desire for something, and I will tell you, you will figure it out.
Exactly.
Right? You just might as well just go for it. Yes, fear is going to be there. It is there to protect you. That is all. Just have fear to be there. And courage is being able to be in action with fear being present. So fear is not going to go away. We have a million-year-old mind. Our primitive mind is there to protect us. And so I will tell you, every big thing that I ever tried to go after in life, fear is meeting me at the next level, new devil.
Exactly.
So it's going to be there. This is just part of life. This fear is not going to go away. It's there to protect you, just so you don't just do crazy stuff. It has to be there to protect you. So it's doing its job. So just know that it's going to be there. Fear is going to be there. Have it to be okay. Acknowledge it. Actually thank it for showing up, because it always has a positive intention.
Yes. Now, one of the things I really want to share, Rovan, and I want to get your perspective on it, because you're an expert. A lot of people think if they're in the same field, if they're a speaker, if they're an author, if they're a trainer, whatever it may be, or a dancer for that, and they think that they're competing against each other, but they're not. It's not competition. The only competition we have is the person we see in the mirror each day we look in the mirror. Share a little bit about the fact that people can have, our Creator God gives us different gifts. He gives us blessings. He gives us favor, but we're all different in a good way.
Yeah, we actually have this uniqueness about ourselves, that we're just like snowflakes. There are no two people that are ever the same. And you bring up something very, 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 very powerful. Now, I've had the blessings to be inside of several different industries, going into the dance world, being into the business world, being into the educational world, being into the office world, being into the coaching world, being into the speakers world. And one thing that I will tell you that really is true about what you're saying, I always never really compared myself to someone else. I just knew that if I focused on myself and try to be the best version of myself each and every day, and I can kind of look at the next person who I thought was great only as a marker of what's possible.
Exactly.
And once I know, once I knew what was possible, then it inspired me to go there. but it
Yeah.
wasn't competition. It was, I would find the person to inspire me to be
Right.
more of who I
Like a
can be.
Tony Robbins. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Lisa Nichols.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. So you find those people who it will inspire you to be a better version of yourself, and actually force you, if it has to be, to raise your own standards.
Yeah, because I was on the track team, and people would ask me. They said, "Well, what was it like racing against the fellow?" I ran against the fellow who actually won the state championship in the 800, and I said, "Well, I think what it came down to was who was in better conditioning, and maybe
Ah,
who may have had a little bit more experience because I had just ran for 1 year just to get ready for college." And they said, "Well, how were you able to run the times that you ran? Because you won your first 5 races." I said, "Well, my competition or my goal was the clock.
aha,
We're all in the same. We're in different lanes, but we're racing against the clock. We're
the
not racing
same
against
clock.
each other."
Right.
Yeah, and that's
Awesome.
kind of how I looked at. And so I looked at speaking. I looked at being an author and these other things as me against myself,
Nice.
me trying to get the best out of myself, just like I did in track. The clock was determination. When it comes to a book, the book is about completing it and then marketing.
That's right.
Marketing is the key.
Yeah.
When it comes to speaking, it's being able to sell or pitch someone that you can deliver to their audience and provide the solutions that the audience needs or the organization needs. It's solution based, of course.
Great. Another great point. And, just to kind of add on what you're saying, this is just so good. The thing is that you really have to remember
Mhm.
is that, again, there is no competition except perhaps with yourself.
Exactly.
You can
How hard
be,
it works.
yeah, you can be inspired by people, which is great, which is fine, which is dandy. But I
Sure.
tell you, when you begin to do this one thing, if you really want to be unhappy, talk about uniqueness. If you going out after whatever you're going after, and I'm sure, Paul, that you will agree, you are the most unhappy. If you really want to make yourself unhappy,
Yeah,
try to be something other than your authentic self.
exactly.
Because
That's what
when you try to be like, just fill in the blank,
sure.
they can
Like you said,
inspire you.
I want to be like Mike. I don't want
You
to be
want to
like
be
Mike.
like Mike.
I
Yeah.
don't want to be like Mike.
Listen, if you want to be unhappy, try to be something other than your authentic self. And what we mean by that is try to be somebody that you're not. It is
Exactly.
not until you step into your own lane
Oh,
of genius and
and
you
authenticity.
dare to be unique, be
Yes,
bold, and say, "Here I am here now, and this is me 100%." This is when people are going to lock in and actually begin to follow you, buy from you, seek you out,
right.
because you can't be anyone else other than your authentic self.
Yes.
And you go out there and you wonder why things are not working. And you're going out there and you wonder why things are falling by the wayside, or you're getting doors closed in your face. You want to know why? Because you're not being you. The
Exactly.
world needs you.
And the people can see it too. They can feel
Yes,
it.
that's right.
Yeah. So I mean, this dialogue we have going on, Roman, it definitely means that an episode is coming up quick for you. Because this particular information that we're talking about right now is priceless. In other
Yeah,
words, it has so much value because we're actually going through it.
that's
And,
right.
and, and you know, like I do, it is not easy.
No,
It's not
no.
easy.
And you know what? It would be so boring if it was.
Exactly. 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 And I found myself like after we get off this call here this evening, then I've been practicing my speech a little bit early because I had to do a rewrite. And
Mm,
now I have a meeting with my coach tomorrow, my speaker coach tomorrow. And I won't have it all ready, but I have this framework
okay.
together. And
Yeah.
so what I'll do tonight is I'll get on Zoom and I'll just read it out,
Yes.
looking at it word for word, see how long
Yep.
it takes.
Hmm.
Then, with me knowing I have to get it down to 6 minutes or less, then I pare it down, I take out, I take away from what is written. And then at that point, I'll be ready and I'll just practice every day, 4 or 5 hours every day until the 18th. And by the time I get there, it won't be memorized. I would know the speech.
That's right. That's
Yeah, I
right.
would know it.
Repetition is the mother of mastery.
Yes. And making mistakes, failing forward is
Yes.
also another really, really great thing to do.
Yes.
So that's where we at now. I've been, while you were talking, I was communicating with Joy. However, it doesn't look as if she's going to make it, but I did let her know that I was still here waiting for her. So I didn't tell her that you're here. She'll know. But what I'll do is I will end up, and we'll get a time, we'll schedule time, and then we're going to go through your new books. We're going to go through your programs, because the number one thing for you and I, again, is to build our foundation, our community.
That's right. Yes.
Because
Totally
if we can increase our community, then we have people who know, like, and trust us. And just share a little bit about know, like, and trust for the people who are listening.
You know, we can actually speak it from the perspective of, and we always hear about people who wants to write books, right? You know, one of the main reason that you should consider writing a book is because it is one of the fastest way to build authority.
Yes.
And for people to know you, to like you, and to trust you. When it comes to services and serving people and actually getting people to buy your products, you know, we buy from people who we like, and that we trust. And of course, we have to know them, right? Exactly. That's a given, right? But it's kind of like anything. When you're more comfortable, you're resonating with people, you have rapport with them. It's like, oh, you know, I really like that Paul guy. I really like that Ravon guy. I really like what he says. And they're so relatable because they're being themselves. You know, they know us, they like us, they trust us, right? And, you know, if you have like a book as a bestseller, that's great. Or if you just being yourself, they can't know you. They can't know you if you're trying to be someone else.
Exactly. Yep.
And it comes off as fake or phony or whatever you may want to call it. So getting them to be, to know who you are, not being afraid to be transparent, to be vulnerable, to be human. You know, we've talked about our challenges on this particular episode. We've talked about our fears on this episode. And you can begin to see the human side of us to say, you know what, if we can do it, so can you.
Absolutely. And I think that right there is the key to it all.
Yeah.
That's the key to it all. Yeah. Because when I start out my upcoming keynote, I'm actually talking about an experience that I had in the Caribbean, where I was me and teammates on a triathlon team could have been killed.
Wow.
Because someone robbed us in our sleep. And that's how I started out. And I build on that particular presentation by letting them know that I take them to that level where they're there with me. And then I transition into, well, if all of us are going to have some adversity in our lives, but I approach mine from the standpoint of workplace adversity and some things that are people going through. You know, people losing their jobs, federal government, corporations who've changed things because of how the economy is going. And then I show them at the end, well, these are the 3 things that you can do to help make it through that quicksand of life and being able to navigate life in the highest order. And nice. That's kind of how that presentation is going to go. And so I'm going to just give it my all.
Like you always do.
Yeah, I'm going to just leave it all on the stage. And we're going to be in a theater.
Yes.
We're going to be in a theater and spotlighted on us. And, you know, we're just free to share that presentation and go from there. So I'm really looking forward to it. And I can see myself on that stage right now.
There you go. Visualization is powerful.
Yeah. So it's going to be great. Well, Rovan, first of all, thank you so much for your support. Thank you even more for the knowledge that you're helping people to acquire this evening. And I'm going to definitely have you schedule for a episode before month's end, and I'll connect with you and we'll get it done. And I think that this was just a great session. It's kind of like the musicians get together and they're just playing their music, right? Just an open session, right?
Yeah, nothing's planned here. This is totally,
planned.
it's
I was fooling around looking at YouTube, and I like Prince. I went to one of Prince concerts here, and I was like, that's one of my favorite entertainers of all time.
I totally agree with you.
He could play that guitar, everything. And I was sitting there listening. I was like,
yes,
we miss Prince.
Right? Yeah.
And so you look at just that natural authenticity. And I mean, it's that same way. And that's how this is. It's very authentic. And we're just letting people know that if we can do it, so can you.
If we can do it, so can you.
So can you. Exactly. So, hey, my friend, thank you so much for your time. And I'll definitely be in touch with you, and we'll get everything scheduled and we'll take it from there.
As always, thank you so much, Paul, for having me today.
Will do. Have a great evening, my friend.
Right.
Take care. See you, Rovan.